You got to witness one of the, I guess, craziest sagas of that era, which was the transition of going from Brett to Aaron and Brett retiring and unretiring and retiring and unretiring again. What was that for you as a young executive witnessing this where one of the all-time greats is in and out and they want him, they don't want him. I mean, what was that entire thing like for you watching this with two quarterbacks you had on the roster?
Yeah, that my first draft was we draft our first pick as an executive was Aaron Rodgers, which is crazy. And you think about it because you go into Green Bay, Brett Favre, talented Hall of Famer, face of the franchise, face of the state, and then you draft a young quarterback who at the time we didn't really initially in the process didn't spend as much time with because it's like he's going to be the first pick, second pick, him and Alex Smith, whatever. But then as we got close to the draft point, you did a little more research and work and just make sure you knew in case something happened. Um, but you end up getting Aaron in the building, and the Brett's back and forth situation. It can it can tax you a little bit, and as far as your planning and how you want to proceed. But that's one of the things I say with Ted. I learned a good deal about just patience and not getting too high or too low about a circumstance or a situation and letting things play themselves out. Um, but we made the move to have Aaron there, and if you know anything about Green Bay, you know that the fans at practice they come, they ride their bikes, they're there, they plan their vacations around that. That was the first time I saw where there was fans divided and one shot shouting for Brett, one side shouting for Aaron, one side mad at Ted, and it's just the craziness about that whole environment. And the thing that I took away from that was the steadfastness that and the prudency and the belief that Ted had in Aaron and making the decision what's best for the organization, not what's best for this person or that person, what was going to be best for the organization, and just to be able to stand tall on that because there was a lot of heat not on me directly, but just from, the outside, the media, the fan base, one way or the other, that he could have folded under, and he stood tall. But it was a trying time. And to both those guys' credit, I think, Brett went on to the Jets and did some things and had the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl with Minnesota. And Aaron, he came in. He handled it like a pro should, to be quite honest. I couldn't imagine being in his shoes, some of the pressures that he may have faced as a young quarterback trying to figure it out, just trying to play ball. But I think he grew stronger from it, and it worked out for both sides.
The transition was amazing on all ends, and they did it again a number of
Yeah,
years later, going from Aaron to Jordan. So you end up being there, like I said, from '04 to 17, and that's when you end up transitioning over to where you are today, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. That was also when, as we mentioned before, John Dorsey was the GM.
yeah.
How did that opportunity come about? I would imagine it was John, but how did that all happen? And leaving a place you've been with your entire career as an executive?
Yeah, that was a spring, right after the draft, a little bit after the draft. I was actually out on a bike ride with my family, and I got a call from Ted saying that John wanted to request to interview me for a position here in Kansas City, and that he thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to continue to grow. When you think about the Green Bay situation, you talk about all the names that were there and that are still there now. There's a lot of really talented individuals, and it can almost get to be where it's like there's no room to climb or grow or continue to evolve because there's so much talent and there's not really a lot of movement per se. So I was grateful that John extended the opportunity to come down and interview. I came out to Kansas City, and I hadn't been back since I had gotten cut many years before. And it was good to see the building, the people. Coach Reed, I've been a fan of from afar from my whole career, and just getting to meet with him briefly and just the whole situation. It was a seamless transition initially, and so then we interviewed, got the job, got it offered the job, and we accepted. And it's been good. Obviously, that's the year that Patrick was drafted here. So, Coach Reed had already established a culture and a way of playing and a play style that um, you see him playing out now. So it was a good seamless fit.
I mentioned this to you before we started recording, but do you ever reflect on the fact that your entire executive career and even going into your player career that you've quite literally had some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history throughout all of it. Executive side from Brett to Aaron to Patrick. Alex was there for a year as well. But like, do you ever just think about like you've never had to go through a quarterback purgatory, which is quite literally a nightmare for every other executive?
Yeah, no, I'm fortunate in that regard. But the same token, I've learned it doesn't matter. Quarterback play is a big thing, right? But I look back in some of my career, some of the stops that we've had. We were fortunate in Green Bay to win one Super Bowl, but arguably could have been in two or three more. Whether we win those or not, I don't know. And we've been fortunate to be in a couple Super Bowls here. The thing that with that I really grasped and gravitated to try to harness is you have to maximize opportunities. You can have the greatest player to ever reach play on the field, but if you don't surround them with the right people, the right environment, support system, um, the others, as some people say, then it's a shame because you can waste opportunities, and one year doesn't bleed into the next. One MVP versus season versus not, it doesn't roll into the next year. So, as fortunate as I've been with some quarterbacks, and on our teams, I feel like there's a lot more that we could have done, from an organization standpoint in both of our stops that could maximize those windows, those opportunities. But yeah, you're around Hall of Famers, you know what that looks like, what it feels like. I remember, I could tell you a quick story when I first got to Kansas City, and we were watching tape after practice, and they kept rewinding some stuff with Patrick, some throws he was throwing. He's like, "Wow, look at this throw!" The whole room's like, Brett, um, Borgonzi, all the guys looking, "Look at this throw! Look at this throw!" So I'm looking at him. I was like, that's like a normal throw because I'm used to coming from Aaron and Brett to seeing, Patrick. I'm like, "Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. What's supposed to look like." But it was just in awe of the talent and the way that Patrick spends it, at the time. So I just thought that was funny that, I've seen that throughout my career and, seeing it in a different lens was pretty cool.
Well, you've had the great honor of winning 4 Super Bowls, like you mentioned before, 1 in Green Bay, 3 so far in Kansas City, I think I have to mention so far. Um, all those Super Bowls have been nail biters. What is it like as an executive and you being a former player, being on the field, now being an executive in a suite or wherever you are, watching a nail biting Super Bowl, which again, all 4 were?
Mhm. Um, it's not for the weak at heart. I think, there's highs and lows to every, not just a Super Bowl, every game. I think I'm highly competitive and I don't like to really lose games. But I'll say this, the biggest thing that I've learned, is to trust your people. You trust your coaches, you trust your players, you trust the work that they put in to get to certain points. So the things that play out on the field, you know, thankfully we've been around people that prepared properly for it. And you just trust what you've done. At the end of the day, you do is control what you can control. And I tell players that, I tell myself that really daily, is control what you control. You can't control what happens outside or other people do. Control the narrative that you can. And the preparation and all those Super Bowl wins was done on the front end of the season. That's done in August. We're setting the stage for what February may be. So, as emotional and as high and low as those games have been, I always felt optimistic about the outcome because I knew the work and the preparation that was put in place.